What if I told you that humanity has come within inches of its own destruction more than once? Long before doomsday movies, real leaders, real nations, and real mistakes pushed the world to the brink. So close that a single miscommunication, a single nervous general, or a single wrong decision could have meant the end of civilization as we know it. Number 5. World War I, the war that almost launched an early apocalypse. We remember it for trenches, mud, and attrition, but few realize how terrifying the escalation could have been. By 1915, two things were happening that could have created a doomsday scenario. First, rapidly industrialized chemical warfare, and second, the collapse of multiple empires at once. If the German Empire had doubled down on unrestricted chemical bombing, or if Russia's internal collapse had caused mass military fragmentation, the war could have spiraled across continents even faster than it did. Historians estimate that if major cities had begun targeting each other with large-scale chemical attacks, a chain reaction of retaliation might have created a world with no stable governments left to stop the chaos. Imagine the 20th century, starting with collapsed superpowers, chemical fallout, and no international order. Humanity would have entered a dark age 2.0. We got lucky. Number 4. World War II, the Manhattan Project's unthinkable alternate path. This war already brought humanity into the nuclear age, but there's a chilling alternate path most people don't know. Early in the Manhattan Project, scientists feared the unthinkable, whether a nuclear detonation could ignite the atmosphere. The fear was later disproven, but during development, the US, Germany, and Japan all pursued advanced weapons that, if miscalculated, could have resulted in chain reactions humanity didn't understand. Even more terrifying, if Nazi Germany had obtained the bomb first, their weapons doctrine at the time supported mass shock attacks intended to reset the board. A nuclear exchange in the 1940s could have plunged Earth into a global winter before modern medicine, agriculture, or global infrastructure existed to recover. Human civilization was closer to a reset button than most realize. Number 3. The Korean War, when nuclear orders were one signature away. The Korean War wasn't just a regional conflict. It was the moment when nuclear weapons nearly became normalized. General Douglas MacArthur openly pressed for nuclear strikes against Chinese and North Korean positions. At one point, the U.S. Strategic Air Command had bombers armed and ready. President Truman ultimately pulled back, knowing that such an escalation could trigger direct conflict with the Soviet Union. A U.S.-China-Soviet nuclear triangle in the 1950s would have meant no arms control, no safety protocols, no communication hotlines, and no deterrence stability. Humanity avoided a civilization-ending nuclear exchange because one president hesitated at the final moment. Number 2, the Able Archer scare of 1983, when a war game looked like doomsday. This is one of the closest near misses in human history. In 1983, NATO ran a simulation called Able Archer, essentially a large-scale war game involving nuclear command procedures. The Soviet Union thought it was real. Believing a Western first strike was imminent, Soviet leadership raised its nuclear forces to an unprecedented alert state. Some historians say Moscow even pre-delegated launch authority to local commanders. All it would have taken was a nervous radar operator, a misread satellite image, or a single false alarm, and we would have had a full-scale nuclear exchange without anyone wanting one. Earth was one miscommunication away from nuclear winter. And at number 1, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the closest humanity has ever come to extinction. For 13 days in 1962, humanity stood on a cliff edge. The US discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba. The Soviet Union feared an American invasion. Both sides had weapons ready. Both sides had orders prepared. Both sides expected the other to strike first. Here's what most people don't know. A Soviet submarine commander, Vasily Arkhipov, refused to authorize a nuclear torpedo launch when under pressure, depth charges, and miscommunication. His single act of restraint may have prevented the opening strike of a global nuclear war. A war that could have contaminated continents, collapsed nations, and thrown the world into an ice age-like nuclear winter. Humanity owes its existence to a decision made in a dark submarine battle thousands of feet underwater. We often imagine the end of the world as science fiction, but history shows that humanity has been its own greatest threat. Again and again, we've walked to the edge of destruction and stepped back just in time. These moments remind us how fragile civilization truly is, and how different our world could have been if just one decision, one radar reading, or one person had acted differently. If you want more alternate timelines, hidden history, and impossible but true moments, subscribe. Because history isn't just the story of the past, it's the story of how close we came to losing our future.